It's me, Mary Shelley, author of Frankenstein.
Frankenstein?
What if they try to make the Joker, but for women? Wouldn't that be awful? Wouldn't that suck really bad? Well, they made it. I went to watch this movie without knowing anything about it. I saw a poster for it on my way to my wage cage, and all the poster told you was that it was a Frankenstein movie, it had Christian Bale as Frankenstein, and that it was out now. I thought, well, I like Christian Bale, can you tell? I like Frankenstein, so off I went to sit in a mostly empty theatre for a little more than 2 hours. I think there were about 8 people in total there, and I'm pretty sure someone walked out less than halfway through. And this is probably the closest I've ever been to walking out of a movie. I think the only thing that stopped me was the sunk cost fallacy and the thought of making this video. So the movie starts with a really pretentious black and white monologue with a woman talking way too close to the camera. This is supposed to be Mary Shelley, writer of the original Frankenstein novel. She talks in a very forced and cringy, I don't know what to call this, theater kid accent. Think of what a really annoying Tumblr browsing teenage girl from 2014 would think people in the 19th century sounded like. She also has this really annoying cackle because she's quirky and crazy. And she swears a lot too, because that's her real, strong, creative, independent girl boss women talk. Chud. Don't like it? Well then you can just leave and let these 7 other people enjoy the movie. Anyway, she tells us that she wrote Frankenstein on a dare and was going to write more, but then she got brain cancer and died and woke up in this black void and has been stuck here ever since. But now, she's going to tell the story she always wanted to write the whole time. It's about a woman named Ida, something like that. She says that's not really her name, but it'll do for now. She says that she's trying to be a good girl, but something is changing. Mary starts to possess her. She goes,
Is it a ghost story? A horror story? Almost frightening of all. A love story.
Man, you corny!
So without further ado, here comes the bride. Oh, sorry, the motherfucking bride.
The motherfucking bride!
Yeah, again, you better get used to all the swearing. It's like they had to reach a quota for the words fuck and fucking in every scene. How exactly is Mary Shelley possessing someone from the Frankenstein universe? Who exactly is she in this universe? Or rather, what is she? Just don't. It's not worth thinking about. You've already spent far more time thinking about how this works than the writers ever did. It's the 1930s and our protagonist is at a high-end club with some seedy characters. Think of every scene you've seen like this. You know, you got the guys talking about their business and flirting with the women, and then you got the women being totally into them or whatever. And then the women start making out with each other, and this shit gets really sexual and gross really fast. Ida starts getting really freaky, but then she gets too freaky as she gets fully possessed. And they do this thing where she's switching between a more normal voice and the really forced theater voice.
Cunning foxiness. Stuck sick in the ground. Mouthful of dirt. You've got to sit side saddle to avoid ruining your prospects.
That's how they differentiate between Mary Shelley and the main character, and it's just so bad. At first I thought that when she was Mary Shelley, she would say random words and sentences cut in between the swearing. Full-on schizobabble. Or think of those women who were faking Tourette's on TikTok. But after watching it again, fully legally, but this time with headphones, I realized she's actually trying to communicate. Think of that same 2014 era Tumblrite teenage girl whipping out the thesaurus and replacing every other word with one she thinks would be fancier.
Gentlemen, I have an unpleasant tingler sensation, frothing, feeling itchy, confused and satiric, loaded, abounding, which is quite hard to bear, as you can imagine. A bee in my bonnet.
I have no idea why they made this decision. Was Mary Shelley known to be a severely mentally ill head case? I doubt it. She finds out that the other woman on the table is giving some guy a hand job, and she gets angry at this and says, you know, you could always say, I would prefer not to. Remember this line. She will say it a lot. It's a catchphrase. As if it wasn't already pretty disrespectful to start your movie off with the author of the original book talking about how, in reality, she wanted to write your fanfiction the whole time, but she never could. FYI, in the original book, the bride character never comes to life. Dr. Frankenstein destroys her body because he can't bear the idea of creating another monster. So, yeah, I don't think Mary was dying to have a girl boss whole bride of Frankenstein. But, the original movie also pulled the "ooh, Mary totally wanted to keep the story going" shtick. How did they do it?
What am I, Mary?
She is an angel.
You think so? Shelley, darling, will you please light these candles for me?
Oh, Mary, darling.
Astonishing creature.
I, Lord Byron.
Frightened of thunder, fearful of the dark, and yet you have written a tale that sent my blood into icy creeps. Look at her, Shelley. Can you believe that bland and lovely brow conceived of Frankenstein? A monster created from cadavers out of rifled graves? Isn't it astonishing?
I don't know why you should think so. What do you expect? Such an audience needs something stronger than a pretty little love story. So why shouldn't I write of monsters?
A woman being feminine and gentle? No, we can't have that. Sorry, Chud. Women are actually rude and loud and horrible. Being nice is an invention of the patriarchy, and a nice normal lady couldn't possibly write such a scary story. Don't like it? Well, then you can just leave and let all 6 of us enjoy the movie. Anyway, so she starts accusing some old bloke across the bar of cutting women's tongues out, and so the guys pull her aside to talk some sense into her. You can't talk to the boss like that and out him in front of everyone. What's going on with you? You're going crazy. You're possessed. And she's like, hee, your cock is small, lol.
Lord, wow, you've got that kind of cock! Looks like a belly button. Absolutely disappears behind the cullions. Does it get bigger when it's eager?
And then they slap the shit out of her, which rules. They don't shy away from beating this woman up throughout the movie, which makes this slightly more watchable.
Darlings, be warned. The sequel is coming.
She literally says a sequel is coming.
Disobedient, ungovernable, everything will change.
She says, "Ooh, because she was being such a good girl before. She's lashing out now. Female rage and all that." Anyway, she gets pushed down the stairs and dies, lol.
Hey, yo, the pizza here. Oh, nigga!
Oh, and the monologue is still going on the whole time.
A revolution is coming.
She goes, "If you thought Frankenstein was scary, this story's going to be like 10 times scarier." Very full of yourself, aren't we, movie? So then we cut to Christian Bale as Frankenstein's monster. Or I guess in this movie he's actually called Frankenstein, since they make a point of him taking his greatest name. Later they just start calling him Frank because this is quirky and modern. He's wearing a scarf to cover his face, and he's traveling to some sort of science institute in Chicago where they revive things. I could tell it was Chicago because they spell it out in very big white generic letters. Thanks, movie. He gets shown in by a woman who tells him to remove his scarf to get the classic shock reveal. And then she goes, "We need to run some tests on you." And he's like, "I must see Dr. Pretorius, he'll know what to do." "Oh, but you see, I am Dr. Pretorius." Ooh, that's right, Chud. They made Dr. Pretorius into a smug, no-nonsense, intellectual woman. Don't like it? The door's right there. More for the 5 of us. Oh, and the Igor Stock character is also played by an old crone in a maid outfit. Whatever, bro. I don't think Christian Bale makes a good Frankenstein, but I think that's more on the script and the direction more than anything else. First of all, he's too short. That's not even a 5'11" manlet versus a 6 feet tall Chad joke. I'm just saying the monster needs to be freakishly big and tall. That's part of what made him scary. And that's why it makes sense that he was super strong too and needed a whole mob to stop him. He barely looks taller than the Doctor here. Frankenstein without the hulking frame would just be a regular, normal zombie, or just a normal guy. They couldn't make him look taller in post? Also, not a fan of the voice. He sounds like he's doing the Batman voice after suffering severe brain damage.
That's true. I don't know how to explain that.
Would you please remove your cravat?
Oh, I'd really rather not. My nerves. Sorry, my nerves.
Yes, Frankenstein was never exactly an expert public speaker, but there's a difference between barely being able to say a few words because you just learned how to talk, and then there's sounding retarded. Picking him for this role seems a bit random to me, unless I start thinking about his role as Patrick Bateman, aka literally me. I got a little bit of a theory. Cue a very uncomfortable pseudo-sex scene between Frank and Mrs. Pretorius where she's very sensually unbuttoning his shirt and filling up his chest and shit. She says she wants to run more tests and Frankenstein doesn't want to. He's actually here because he's very lonely and wants a companion. Cue the usual back and forth.
Why isn't it possible? It's just not. Why not, you stupid bastard?
She goes, why? Do you just want to have sex? Have you ever had sex before? And is generally just being a smug, dismissive cunt about it all.
A bride?
Yes.
How exactly can I help you with that? I don't run a mail order catalog for fallen women.
Of course not.
I can't tell what tone they were going for here because Frankenstein is out here pouring his heart out.
I don't know how much you have read about me.
Oh, please sit down. I've read exhaustively about Dr. Frankenstein's early work and his monster.
His monster.
I'm sorry, is that inaccurate?
Doctor, this is about loneliness. Do you have any experience with it? For me, it's agony.
But Mrs. Pretorius is making comments like
Monster?
that and just being very rude and making him sad. But the scene doesn't make it seem like it's serious. She says he can stay at the lab. It cuts to him watching a movie with his favorite actor, Ronnie Reed, who is always singing and dancing. Frank imagines himself also singing and dancing, just like him. He is projecting onto the screen. Do you get it? He has an incel walk through the streets of Chicago, walking past a cluster of homos and prostitutes wearing spooky masks. The next day rolls around and they do a bit more back and forth about how this totally can't work and how would they even do it, yada yada. She asks how come Frankenstein and the Franken bride have to be made of multiple body parts. I mean, that's just so totally gross. Did Victor Frankenstein have a fetish or something?
I really don't understand the idea behind using pieces from many different dead bodies. What was the thinking there? And sewing them together. It's grotesque. Dr. Frankenstein's got some sort of fetish.
I think that he was trying to create something beautiful.
Well, that's ironic. I apologize.
What a cunt. She continues to make fun of his silly little request because Frankenstein probably wants a plucky redhead with big tits.
And even if we had one complete cadaver, what? We're gonna find you a plucky redhead? We're gonna find you a dead plucky redhead for a tryst. Tall, perky titties. Put in your requests now.
Infertile, cat hair covered hands wrote this. Frankenstein finally snaps and shuts this dumb foid up.
This is an emergency! S.O.S! Fire! Fuck!
It's a love S.O.S. It's a love S.O.S. There's a love emergency. There's a love emergency. She's not having any of those manties and says that everyone is lonely. She also asks what if she's ugly or you don't like her for some other reason, and he says that he would love her no matter what. Aww. She's got ethical concerns and this is so crazy, yada yada, and Frank says, I thought you were a mad scientist. Yeah, I know, right? Well, that finally convinces her to go through with it. They decide to dig up a full corpse cause, you know, the aforementioned fail joke, and wouldn't you know it, it's the crazy bitch who tumbled down the stairs. Why did they know to dig up in precisely that spot? Did the mob bury her with a headstone? Were they just digging up any place that might look like it had a body buried under there? Yeah, whatever. They head back to the lab with the corpse, and Frankenstein gets cold feet last minute because this girl is just too pretty, so she's probably not going to like him. Maybe they can wait until tomorrow.
Oh, she's too beautiful.
You're right, Frank. She is beautiful.
Well, I think it might be better to stop now and start again tomorrow.
Oh.
Mrs. Pretorius tells him that they've gone too far to back out now, and that it's now or never. So they go ahead and do the thing, revive her and all that. She throws up a black fluid that permanently stains the side of her face for some bullshit reason that I can't remember. I reckon they thought it looked really cool. She tries to get off the bench, she trips because she's got a broken leg, and Frankie Frank tries to help her up, but she says, "Get your hands off me!" Yeah, girl power. She spews out a word salad made with words that a 12-year-old Redditor would find real complex, and Frankenstein says, "Amazing." It turns out that she's got amnesia. Ooh, and she doesn't remember her name or what happened to her. Frankenstein very autistically tells her that she looks like she had some type of accident, and that if she wants, she can sleep on his bed tonight because that toad's married or will be married, and Mrs. Pretorius goes, "Whoa, too far, buddy. She can sleep on this cold bench while you can go somewhere else and I'll lock the door while I examine her." Then they talk about how weird he is while he watches another Ronnie Reed movie while tearing up. So she goes to sleep and she gets a visit from Lol So Random Holds Up Frankensborg. Ida wants to know her name and asks if she can give it to her, but Shelley says that she would prefer not to. So it's the next morning and it turns out Frank broke in through a window so he could sleep on the floor next to her. She decides to startle him awake and he spugs out and punches her in his blind panic. Which rules, once again. He does apologize for it though.
Fuck that fucker! Hey, fuck it! Come on! Oh, fuck! I'm sorry!
He tries to get near her again and she spews out another thesaurus page and he goes, "You have an amazing vocabulary." Mrs. Pretorius comes to the room due to the commotion and she goes, "OMG, what happened?" and yada yada. And then they cut to them having breakfast and Frank is being very polite, but the fucking girl boss bride is having none of it. She's like, "I'm not hungry," and fucking around with the cutlery. Mrs. Pretorius says that she wants to run some tests again. The
fucking bride
says, "I would prefer not to." Mrs. Pretorius tries to negotiate, but MF Bride starts having a BPD meltdown, smashing cups because Mary Shelley's tired of being ladylike.
I've laid out a very beautiful breakfast for you. I'm not sure what the problem is here. Have I upset you somehow?
A lifetime of lady lying. It's the scarcity. And deprivation makes a hungry cunt.
Why is the female power fantasy just having tantrums and being a cunt? Why is that the only thing you can come up with? It's always this shit. "No, I'm done! I'm lashing out!" And they got the easiest lives ever. A roof over their head, a comfy job by choice, food in their belly, free time to do whatever they want. Nobody stoning them to death for dancing or wanting to go to school. But I was at work today and people didn't instantly fall silent the moment I started talking. I'm expected to say thank you when someone does something for me. I was given hints that something was bothering me and nobody picked up on it. And I wanted to talk about it for the whole week, but I only talked about it for half the week. A man came up to me at the bar and he said hi. And I've had enough. I want to talk all the time and everyone needs to die now. She's also spoken out because she wants to go outside instead rather than stay in this facility she has them in, which is so rushed. Bitch, you haven't even been here for a day. Calm your farm. Wouldn't it be better to stay a little longer to find out more information about who you are? You did lose your memory. No! I want to leave now to go party! Mrs. Pretorius tells her no, but Frankenstein gives Ida a cheeky little wink and that night he helps her escape through a window. They go watch another Ronnie Reed movie, and Frankenstein explains that the actor is really cool because he had polio as a child, which left him a malformed freak with uneven legs. So he's kind of like him in a way, for real, for he too is a malformed freak. With the help of some special shoes, he was still able to be a great singer and dancer and be beloved by millions on the big screen. The
fucking bride
asks, "Is that your kink? One leg shorter than the other?"
What?
Conversations that you had in high school type shit. So by now I hope you can see what they're trying to do here. They saw that meme with the list of incel movies with a caption saying, you know you're not supposed to like them, right? And decided to turn that into a movie? That's right, Chud. That's what you look like when you post a gif of Agent K as a reaction image. They've drawn you as the Frankenstein's monster and them as the cool old girl boss woman. It's over. I guess when you think about it, Frankenstein was the original loner, misunderstood guy character who eventually lashes out against society after he's had enough. Is Falling Down just a Frankenstein remake? I think yes. Prove me wrong. So anyways, they find that degen den that Frankenstein walked past a scene or two ago, and Frankie girl boss Ida excitedly exclaims that this is her type of scene. She asks if he wants to dance, and he says that he doesn't do that. She says he totally does, and mocks how he tries to imitate Ronnie Reed and then hits up the dance floor. It appears to be some sort of gay club with about 65% mystery meat brown people in the 30s. Remember how this movie takes place in the 30s? Well, the writers don't really care and will constantly take you out of the setting by not even trying. For example, when they first walk in, it's this bass-boosted electro swing shit that's playing, but they let go of that immediately and then it transitions into some weird drag queen thing on the stage singing some type of indie pop tune.
What?
With the flashing lights and the people grinding up against each other and dancing in a way that wouldn't be out of place in a modern club. Why even bother having this take place in the 30s at all? Frankenstein prefers to sit back and watch her flash and grind up against randoms with this look of pure delight as he fantasizes about doing an old-timey dance with her. This scene lasts for way too long. A groiper walks up with his drink and asks if he'd like another. He says, "That's my wife right there."
Oh yeah? You can't keep the table all night.
Look, I know they want me and you to be oh so mad and talk about how much this sucks and say something like, "They turned Frankenstein into a cock simp, so I shouldn't play into it." But it does suck. Why the fuck is Frankenstein getting cocked a plot point, nay, a reoccurring theme in your movie? Why did you feel the need to write this? So she continues to get felt up by every dude in the club until she decides that she doesn't like that anymore and starts screaming about violence and synonyms for violence. On a second watch, I realized that she's also saying that the men feeling her up are Lupino's men, who is the mobster at the start, which is weird because I thought she had amnesia. Why does she remember that? She's not doing the Shelley voice. Frankencock comes to the rescue after taking his sweet time and then pulls her out of the crowd and they decide to leave. But a group of hetero men decide to follow them. I can't tell if it's the same guys that were dancing with her or not. Groping the
fucking bride.
Frankencock turns around and just tells these fine gentlemen good night. They laugh at him and begin beating him up too while also trying to rape Girl Boss Bride. Once again, Frankencock takes a long time just laying on the floor watching this before he decides to spring into action. I get Frankenstein has always been a bit of a pacifist until provoked and he doesn't want to resort to using his retard strength, but surely this should change when it comes to defending his Frankenwife from people beating her up and trying to rape her? Well, either way, the movie gets super violent suddenly and he very graphically maims them, curb stomping one of them. Somebody takes a picture before they make their escape. Who took the photo? Is there someone just carrying a big-ass 1930s camera near this seedy location in the middle of the night, just hoping to photograph a crime? And I guess hoping that whoever they photograph doesn't chase them down? Just questions that were never answered, really. As they run, Frankencock tells her to go home.
away.
He knows that a mob is coming. She doesn't want to get involved with him. He's bad news. He goes to get his shit, including a newspaper clipping of Ronnie Reed, and when he comes back out, she's still there. Because she doesn't know where she lives. So she can come with him, I guess. Another stupid black and white dream sequence. The
fucking bride
asks what her name is again. The penguin of Shelley holds up a spork and says nothing useful. The motherfucking bride says she can't breathe. Fuck. Shelley says that we are all getting suffocated.
Find your name, girl. Resistance to tyranny is obedience to God.
She wakes up and they're running away in a train. The train gets stopped by the cops and Frankencock says to lay low and hide. Despite this, they continue to make idle chit-chat. She asks him what her name is and Frankenstein makes some shit up on the spot. Frankenboss Girl decides to start shouting and singing really loudly because sabotage is a common trait in BPD women. A police officer finds Frankencock who is willing to surrender. The police officer gets really scared of him and is going to shoot him, but then the
fucking bride
pushes him off and he breaks his neck on the tracks. And I guess this is Ida and not Mary Shelley because she seems regretful. Whatever. Cut to the next scene and they're trying to do a hardboiled detective movie now with the detectives trying to piece together the crime scene. Yeah, so I guess the rest of the officers who stopped that train just let the train go even though there was an obvious commotion and one of them died. Detectives, Myrna Molloy and Jake Wiles discussed how there were about 180 witnesses and
He's got a girl with him.
who was mouthing off about Lupino. Molloy also says that she questioned a movie theater owner and he said that there was a guy who kept coming in to watch the same movie over and over who fits that description. Detective Wiles sounds incredibly camp. That's all I got to say on that. So the Franks run away to New York. I could tell it was New York because they zoom out and you can see the Washington Square Arch and then they spell out New York in big white generic letters. Thanks, movie. Bride of Frankencock asks what her name is again. He settles for Penelope Rogers. She then asks, want to fuck? It might make it easier to sleep. I'm just glad I watch movies by myself. She begins to suck off his Frankenpeen and he's not into it at all and tells her to stop because he's a pure, untainted true cell.
Thank you.
She says, I was just trying to be friendly. Okay. It cuts to the detectives investigating the train scene. The officer there introduces himself to Detective Wiles and assumes he's Molloy. And then Molloy's all like, I'm Molloy actually. And then the cop goes, a lady detective? Whoa! Jake says that she's just his secretary and sexistly laughs with the officer about it. And then Jake gets offered a cigarette while having a conversation with him, and when Molloy says that she'd like one, she has to talk over them because she's being ignored. Oh my gosh. Jake goes over to the detectives to discuss the crime scene more while Molloy literally goes to kick rocks and finds the newspaper clipping Frankencock was carrying, while the men glare at her because they just hate women so much. So it turns out they got this strategy where Jake pretends she's his assistant and he's this totally sexist asshole and sweet talks the officers while she walks around and does the real work.
I hate it when you do that.
What's that?
Your asshole act. It's not funny.
I think it's hilarious. It's how I get some of my best information. You do the detective work. I seduce the sheriffs. I'm your gal Friday.
Because this is the 30s, so everybody's just seeping with misogyny and they'd never let a woman succeed as herself. Even though there's a female scientist in this universe and nothing seems to be holding her back.
Grotesque.
They figure out the Franken couple are in New York because the train was going to New York. Cut back to cringe Bonnie and Clyde.
Well, what was the fucking like before the accident?
Volcanic. Big Bang. Sun shaft. Sweet mate. is out of this world.
Right. She also asked if he thinks the guy she pushed off is okay. He lies and says he thinks he's fine, but that causes him to start freaking out. He reaches out for his trusty newspaper clipping, but he realizes it's not there, and his autistic meltdown gets even worse.
My clipping? Was right here. Oh, God.
They must return to the theatre. The crab legs call for him. They do that cliche where they show the Big Apple and all the buildings with the lights and the hustle and bustle of the city. And the character being in complete awe of it all with the
fucking bride.
Does that even work for this character? She's got amnesia, but she's clearly not sheltered. And she's from a big city as well. Whatever. They don't watch the Ronnie Reed movie because we've already seen that one. The price to pay for going from Frankenstein to Frankencuck. So they gotta watch a horror movie instead. They sit right behind a couple macking on and borderline having sex right there in the theater, because this movie has a problem. The woman keeps saying, hee, stop it, in that, oh, but totally don't stop type of way. Franken Boss Girl smacks the guy on the side of the head, not because of public indecency, but because she said no, and starts opening her shirt up because hypersexuality is a common cluster B symptom. Then turns to the woman and says, of course you can fuck him if you want to. I seem to remember it was very nice, but much nicer with a wet pussy Eddie promise. She's barely even doing the Mary Shelley voice anymore. I thought the whole point was that lol random Shelley possessed this quote-unquote good girl so she could lash out and be violent, but Ida just seems to lash out as well on her own, so not only is it cringe and disrespectful, but it's pretty much pointless. Anyway, obviously this blows their cover, so they run away as they start a commotion, alerting the detectives who are just hanging around outside. They sneak into a fancy dinner party to try to blend in as waitstaff to lose the crowd, which is dumb. It's a well-lit room and they look like they got dragged in from the street, because they were. Frankencuck loses the black jacket and switches it for a white one that looks far dirtier. It looks like it has squiggles and shit. Doesn't even match what the rest of the staff is wearing. Speaking of the staff, they came in through the back door with all the cooks stared at them coming in, so doesn't matter. Look, Frankie Girlboss steps on someone else's dress and rips out part of it, then puts it on her head to wear as a veil. A black veil. Ooh, doesn't she look cool? Doesn't she look super iconic? Meanwhile, Frankencuck puts some prawns in his pockets. Then he turns the corner and oh my gosh, wouldn't you know it, it's the Ronnie Reed, his favorite actor, right here in this party. He walks up to say hi, removing his scarf to reveal his face. Literally saying, my God, it's you, it's me. He saw him back in 1917 and he smiled at him. He walks closer to tell him, you'll be glad to know that I'm not alone anymore. Ronnie Reed recoiling back because Frankencuck is just so stinky. He says, and this is word for word, I credit you and you alone for my survival. Ronnie jokes and says,
I'm so sorry, honey, but you're really not my type.
And they laugh at him. Yes, that's right, you fucking incel chud. You like Nightcrawler? Well, guess what? Jake Gyllenhaal hates you. He thinks you're weird and stinky. The director of the movie should know. She's his sister. Yes, let's employ the Alan Moore strategy of dealing with people who like and relate to your characters when you didn't want them to. That will definitely make them like you more. No, my hero! The prawns have fallen out of his pockets and he flips out again. He starts breaking into a dance sequence and I don't know if it's supposed to be real or if he's imagining it. Maybe this is him finally letting go or something. It's the Joker dance that we have at home. Everyone else starts joining in too. Are they possessed? I shouldn't. I really shouldn't think about it. This is unironically the best part of the movie, IMHO. It's fun, even if it doesn't make sense. I'm no choreography expert, but it looks fine to me. All the dancing gets interrupted by the cops and the angry mob. And Franken Boss recognizes Detective Jake. Frankencock is fighting all the cops, and in the commotion, the
fucking bride
gets the gun and starts waving it around. None of the cops do anything about it. She points the gun to Ronnie Reed.
Ronnie Reed, everybody. Want force amnesia, huh? No problem, I've got brains. You got plenty of brains inside this firecracker. She's the brains behind that operation. This is a brain attack.
How old is Maggie Gyllenhaal? She's 48. You're 48 years old and you're writing stuff like this? Just fucking quit. Just quit. Ronnie Reed is begging for forgiveness and she asks, "What are you sorry for? Did you do something wrong? Something you might get away with?" I'm thinking, oh, maybe I got the wrong read here? Are they going to take Frankenstein's side with his BBD-ho tomboy goth GF helping him out? Well, no, they just kind of use this to pivot the conversation to talk about Lupino, which has nothing to do with Ronnie Reed. She totally forgets about him and all that to talk about what she thinks is important. Typical, am I right? Lupino is paying off the commissioner and is a murderer of women as opposed to just a murderer. That's what makes him real bad. He rips their tongues out. Oh my god. Do you get it? Like he's silencing them? He's silencing the women? Fuck, bro, they thought they were really doing something with that. And he's not the only one who did something bad, apparently. A bunch of other men in that room did some other shit that I don't care to rewind to listen to legally in the movie theater.
Something niggling her? Some little violence?
The dead have something to say and they're speaking through her. You know in movies how they have that part where the main character has the speech and that's supposed to be the actor acting so good for that Oscar nomination or to give them an iconic moment or something? I think this is that, and it's really bad.
Elsie, Lucy, May, Ray, all found dead with their tongues cut out. Well, you know what they say. Silence is golden. I'm singing for my supper.
Pans to Frankencock nodding his head like she's spitting bars. She keeps screaming at everyone to drop their weapons and firing boogie shots.
You just put the guns down, I'll tell you all about it. I'm tired of here. Get over! What, clutching your pearls? You shoot whoever you want. You cheated and you won. The dead are angry.
It's she who should have the gun. It's the men who need to be checked. A scrote officer who didn't respect her wishes to monologue forever tries to stop her and she shoots him. And she's like, oh my god, I can't believe I shot someone and they died. Frankencock takes that as their cue to skedaddle. Also, the officer gets shot straight in the heart but can still stand there for 5 seconds to stare at her before going down. Frankenstein is impressed by her hysterics, but she's still in shock that she shot someone and shooting somebody kills them. Frankenstein is like, yep, it's terrible, but there's nothing we can do now. And they start making out for a very long time. I guess this is him taking her to the bad side. Ooh. Apparently that angry mob just forgot about them. Detective Jake does come out to cockblock Frankencock though. They stand still to scream at him and then they run away in a straight line. And he decides to fire a boogie shot into the sky where it will never come down and putting no one in danger. Anyway, cue a montage of them having sex and engaging in other activities like driving around, watching Ronnie Reed movies. Playing around in the fountain, more sex. Frankencock gets branded by her.
Knock, knock! Cantaloupe!
Cantaloupe food.
And cantaloupe with me.
Now, Frankenstein getting a tattoo is really dumb, but I'm willing to let it slide because I like goofy shit. But Penelope is not her name, and he knows that's not her name because he's the one who made it up. That's worse than the average name tattoo. Oh, and speaking of silly shit, check this out. Turns out the bride's epic monologue made the news. It sparked a revolution. Women everywhere are being hysterical and firing at nothing. Look at this fat polka. Girl riot. Twisted Sisters rage against the machine. This is so embarrassing. How are you not embarrassed putting this on the screen? They really thought they were cooking here. They wanted this so badly to be a trend. To have the bunch of women on TikTok with the makeup and put on the veil and do the makeup tutorials and talk about how the
fucking bride
was just so like them, for real, for real. How much did this movie make? Ooh, ouch. Far out? How much is that? Like 3% of its budget? I am the 3%. Bet the investors are feeling like having a brain attack right about now. Also, I gotta point out, guys relating to a certain character in a movie, that's weird and creepy. Says the movie with the edgy Frankenstein OC that influenced other women to act like her in the movie, and who the writers obviously wanted women watching to like and relate to. Insane. We cut to the man of the hour, Lupino, having some soup. And it's the classic mobster scene. I told you to take care of it, but boss, we did take care of it. Bam. Well, now you go and actually take care of it. Yes, boss, I'm right on it. Oh, but before that scene, Lupino goes on to talk about getting his dick sucked in graphic detail. Did the person who made this get touched or something? Can't have one scene without graphic sexual shit. This fat guy also sounds terribly camp, by the way. It just takes me out of the scene completely.
Sir, we took care of it. It is. All taken care of. Nothing to worry about, boss. We put her in a hole.
Hi, sisters.
Speaking of camp, back to the detectives. They're having 16 copycat murders and they want to pin it all on Frankie Girlboss when, according to Jake, the only one they got on her was the cop and that was self-defense, no question. Molloy actually points out the logical thing that she was pointing the gun at the officer, and he says that she just wanted to talk. Yeah. Wanting to talk while threatening to brain blast a famous actor, not to mention actually firing the gun before that.
You know, you disrupt the status quo and they're fucking on you.
Queer faggot!
Jake is a full-blown male ally. He's with her. It's about time women broke the glass ceiling on spree killing. Anyway, TLDW, they figure out the Frankenlennials have been hitting up every famous location from the Ronnie Reed movies, so they're probably going to Niagara Falls next. Molloy noticed that Girlboss Bride looked right at Jake at that party.
You know, a lot of ladies look at me like that.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that for 1 second. Oh, and she's like, if we get them, I want my name on the case. And he's like, can't do that because patriarchy, and that's the end of that scene. It cuts to cringe Bonnie and Clyde driving to Niagara Falls. And Frankencock talks about how romantic the wedding from the movie was. Frank and Girlboss asked if their wedding was romantic, and Frankencock makes some shit up on the spot. Then, turns out a cop wants to pull them over while they're driving in the middle of nowhere. Frankencock readies his gun. Why does Frankenstein need a gun? Anyway, he also covers himself up and tells her to be nice to the cop and tell him he's sick. Do you know how fast you were going? Hehehe, no. So I should just write any number on the ticket then? Haha, I'm just kidding. And then she goes, do you know how to open up a tight little oyster with a little muscle? I'm just joking too. What the fuck is wrong with this movie, man? They give each other fuck me eyes, flirt a little more, and then the officer asks about Frankencock, and she says that's her uncle. So then the officer has her step out of the vehicle for the intro to a porno movie, basically, where he fills her up while telling her poetry. And I do believe penetration eventually does start to happen, ladies and gentlemen. Frankencock sits and does nothing. That's why he's Frankencock. Lol, so random Shelley checks in and goes, knock knock, where's your fight, girl? I thought you were a monster. Sorry Shelley, were we watching the same movie? I'm gonna say it. She wanted it. But I guess Franken-Girl-Boss' super female rage is activated now, so she says her iconic catchphrase of, I would prefer not to, but the officer is like, nah, since he's basically going to town with her already, and that's when Frankencock finally springs into action and shoots her. So would he have just watched them have sex if she hadn't told him no? So Shelley takes over, I think, and she says, someone ought to cut your fucking tongue out, and then she bites his tongue off. Then another officer who was never there materializes into the scene and shoots the girl boss bride before Frankencock shoots him too. She finishes her little snack and they run away into the bushes, rather than taking the car. Take the car? Why are you leaving the car behind? Are you cunts dumb? Take the fucking car! Also, she's a national fugitive with distinct clothing and a whole face tattoo that she was proudly displaying to the officer, but they don't recognize her? Don't even suspect her of being a possible copycat delinquent? Whatever. Next scene. We're in Niagara Falls. I can tell it's Niagara Falls because of the big white generic letters and nothing else, because they never show the actual Niagara Falls once in this movie. How can you be a movie, say you're going to Niagara Falls, and not show it? How do you fuck this up? Jake is feeling very moody, being vague and not saying what's bothering him, just acting like a total woman. He decides to go for a walk and leave Malloy to do the actual investigating. Then we cut to Franken-Girl-Boss spazzing out. Mary has gone too far, and Franken-Girl-Boss Ida wants her to stop. Also, random Shelley says a word salad. Ida is like, I'm revolting, as in, ew, so gross. And then also random Shelley says she's revolting, as in, revolt. And I bet they thought they were so clever for that one. She starts shooting into the sky again and drawing attention to herself. Detective Jake finds her and he's all like, I want to help you because it's all my fault. And he starts doing some exposition about Lupino or something. Malloy hears the commotion and shows up as Frankencock starts walking toward Jake and she shoots him. Jake keeps shouting Franken-Girl-Boss's dead name, which triggers her and causes her to shoot him. So much for her not wanting to hurt anyone, huh? She says, come on!
Don't! Fuck! Your witnesses, detective!
While they're running away and trying to find a car to break into, gee, it would sure be useful if they had that car right about now. Frankenstein is like, what the fuck was that? You had sex with that guy? You're a skank?
You fucked him?
And it's like, buddy, have you seen how she acts around you? So, yeah, we've gotten to that part of the movie where the characters have a big fight or whatever right before the finale. You lied to me, yada yada. We cut back to the detectives, and Jake finally explains how he knows Franken-Girl-Boss. She was a prostitute who, alongside a bunch of other prostitutes, were snitching to the feds about Lupino. But right before they were about to catch him, they closed the case. Franken-Girl-Boss came into his office begging him to reopen it. She said she would do anything. Anything?
She was just a kid. She probably wasn't even 20.
She was only 20 years old, you sick fuck. A 20-year-old prostitute. He slept with her, even though it ultimately wasn't up to him to reopen the case, and he knew it. If this was a commentary on how these male feminist types are usually huge creeps, then I could give the movie props. But what he does isn't even all that crazy, so I'm just sort of like...
So you slept with her. So what?
So Detective Wiles cancels himself because he's just a crooked cop and the strong, capable woman should take over. Meanwhile, Frankenbossbride wants to kick Frankencock out of the car because they're so totally over, but Frankencock is bleeding out and freaking out over her leaving, so she decides to drive them to the movie theater instead to soothe him. Boss, we spotted them just outside of Indiana. Okay, let's go. Whoa, she's the sheriff now? Hey, so how come the women are all oppressed apparently? Because it's the 30s, but this black cop can be black and a cop and breathe freely and is seemingly not inhibited by anything. There's no Jim Crow's law in this universe. All the blackoids can sit next to the whiteoids in the movie theater and just coexist just fine. Would this movie be better if they also touched on race relations? God no. It would be 10 times worse. But when you're an obnoxious leftist movie crying about oppression, it just becomes all the more noticeable when other people are not affected at all. It's not consistent with the setting, but they never gave a fuck about the setting. They do that gag again where all the male cops are ignoring her while interrogating a witness, but she's so much smarter, so she has a better idea. She walks up to the female at the counter to ask where the nearest theater is. I don't know why they're acting like interrogating a witness is totally useless. Also, really, bitch? You're going to interrupt them in the middle of them interrogating a witness for a major investigation to ask about an absolute non sequitur? She has to walk up to a woman to get real helpful answers. Like, yeah, no shit. She's clearly not busy. Could have started by asking her, but no. We gotta establish that the pigs are pigging out. So they're at the movie theater and everyone is there. The Frankenlennials, Girl Boss Detective, the mobster that wants to take out Girl Boss Bride. I don't think I've mentioned him. He's been following the detectives around but doing fuck all, which is why I haven't mentioned him. Frankencock fully confesses they were never married. They dug her up from a grave. She was dead the whole time. So, up until this point, she never knew they were never actually married, so why was she mad previously? Because she lied about her name? But he didn't know what she was up to beforehand, and really, if you only had the knowledge that you were married and you slept with some other guy, doesn't it look like you cheated? Isn't Frankencock in the right here? Whatever? Doesn't matter. As he's telling this story, he projects so hard onto the screen that other people can see it too. How, why, whatever, doesn't matter. So they keep arguing and shit. They step out of the car and he calls her by her dead name again. She says she doesn't like that name anymore. Her new name is going to be The Bride.
I love it. Oh, I fucking love it.
Very camp. You can tell this was written by a woman because men don't talk like this. Very corny dialogue ensues.
Not till death do us part. I love you till the end of time.
Because we were dead to begin with.
I want you. I want you. I want you.
I won't love you till death do us part. Because we were dead to begin with. Oh my god. There are 14-year-old girls out there who think that's bars right there. And then he starts licking her. Ew. And then he asks her to marry her. Aww. But she says she's not his bride. She's just the bride. And she'd prefer not to. Hee hee. And they laugh about that. And then Frankencock gets shot in the head by a gangster. Why are you shooting him and not her? Detective Jake very faggily pleaded with Walloy to not let them kill her, but that was with her, not with you. You were instructed to kill her. A police officer materializes into the scene. How did they know to show up when they were busy ignoring the women? Whatever, look at the cool shootout. Frank and Girl Boss Bride manages to escape while shooting and dragging away Frankencock's corpse. There's a chase scene, but she loses them by driving into a cornfield. Then she starts the knock-knock joke this time, and also random Shelley comes up to ask who's there. Frank and Girl Boss Bride says, the bride. Bride who? Just the bride.
That's very good.
Bride is our word, but you can say bridal. So she drives back into the institute. Malloy figures out she's going there. The gangster is still lurking around, doing fuck all. The old crone maid opens the door, and oh my gosh, she has her face painted too. She's inspired her. They take Frankencock's corpse inside. Mrs. Pretorius is like, oh no, and then talks about radiation levels or some shit. She acts like she's going to revive, but then she's like, no, I'm just doing my heckin' job and, I don't know, getting some readings of the radiation.
He's gonna be okay, right?
Okay. He's dead.
Yeah, but you're gonna bring him back to life.
No.
And they're all like, it's impossible, we can't bring him back. This is why she's just Mrs. Pretorius to me. She's no doctor or a mad scientist. Actual Dr. Pretorius was out here creating little homunculi out of algae, blackmailing Dr. Frankenstein and kidnapping his bride-to-be to force him to create human-like life, enlisting the help of deformed murderers for his bidding and stopping at nothing to realize his vision. Smoking blunts and pouring that Henny with Frankenstein.
Friends? Yes, I hope so. Have a cigar. They're my only weakness.
My nigga was crazy. My nigga was downright wicked. He did not give a fuck. What a joke. I can't believe they're making me defend a supposed homosexual. Just the bride begs and pleads with them. You did this to me, I didn't want any of this, and now you're not even going to help me, yada yada, all that. They ignore her until she pulls the gun out. There's people walking out of this part in the version of the movie that I'm watching fully legally, and it's like, you've endured all this shit, but this is your breaking point. When we're almost done, the supposed mad scientist not doing her due diligence is just too much.
Can somebody help me, please? Can anybody help me?
And they missed out.
What about me? Me too! Me too!
Yes, she actually says the words, me too, twice. I was sitting in that theater in ways I had never sat in a movie theater before, leaning forward in complete and utter disbelief, trying to not burst out laughing. I don't even know what she's on about. I'm not eggless enough to get it. I guess it's the female experience speech. So the scientist is like, oh, so you're in love with him?
Till the end of time.
Well, I was in love once, and she says a bunch of technobabble about how she experimented with her husband and eventually he died, but she brought him back to life, but he wasn't right in the head, so she killed him off again. But Frank and Girl Boss Bride is the result of all their work, basically.
We wanted to see a disobedient geometry. We wanted to know what it would look like.
Well, what does it look like?
Looks like you.
In that moment, the mobster shoots her again, and then 4 quadrillion cops pour into the room to shoot her like a million times, which is really funny. And then Malloy says to knock that shit off and starts giving orders. And who are we taking orders from? This is a crime scene, so it belongs to the detectives. And where's the detective? Pulls out badge. You're talking to her? Wow, such a cool, shocking reveal, even though you didn't have to do all that if you weren't so vague in your wording. Anyway, Malloy's like, okay, I'm going to leave you with the corpses now, Doctor. Take as long as you need. Wink, wink. The doctor and the assistant are alone. The assistant says some cringe shit about Romeo and Juliet, Also, random Shelly chimes in to say some more cringe shit. I don't know if they can hear her. I don't care.
Doctor, we should sleep.
Greta?
Yes, doctor?
I would prefer not to.
Oh my gosh. Mic drop! So they're arresting the gangster. Malloy's outside having a dart like she did anything. Lupino is still out there cutting women's tongues out, by the way. They never stopped him, so... Pan to the lab. Zap zap. And then shot is them holding hands. They play Monster Mash in the credits. You don't deserve to play Monster Mash, movie. This movie is very fetch. They're forcing this female Joker thing really hard and it's just lame and gay. You can't force shit like that. The reason these other movies were iconic with iconic characters was because they had a good story to tell and an interesting character to go with it first. I don't think they were trying to make an icon. The Frankenbride and Shelley are just like all these other girl boss characters. I didn't even mention the Banshee screaming. I guess if you liked She-Hulk, you'd really like this too, but I hope that isn't many people. I've looked into the actress playing her out of curiosity, and she mostly seems to do indie feminist films. I haven't seen any of these, so I don't know for sure, but she stars in a movie called Women Talking. I shit you not, there's a movie called Women Talking. Look, I don't know anything about her and I don't want to speak out of turn, but she looks very obnoxious. Wouldn't surprise me if she's out there defending the film with her life, but I don't think I'll care to look into it. Also, looking through the Wikipedia page of this movie, this just seems like everyone just doing like a favor for Maggie Gyllenhaal. I mean, you got her brother in it, and faggy Detective Jake is apparently her husband. I'm just shocked this made it into theaters. And I know that movies have been very bad for a very long time, but I would have thought this shit would have been delegated to a shitty film festival or something. But I want to list off some things that I did like real quick. The Bride and Frankencock do end up together, which was surprising. Somehow this movie has won over the Barbie movie for that one. She was his queen, and God forbid anyone who disrespects his queen. I didn't like Malloy when I first watched, but on a second watch I think she was probably the best character. Yeah, she's on that girl boss shit, but the acting is good and she's not violent and super rude like the other girl boss. I like the colors. I watch like one movie a year, so I don't really know, but movies today seem very dull looking, and this one looks more vibrant to me. I like the aesthetic and wish they had respected it more. I like the scene where Frankencock confesses that they dug her out of her grave.
We dug you up from the ground, and we brought you back to life.
Who did?
Euphronius, remember?
The lady with the keys in Chicago?
Dr. Euphronius.
She can do that?
She's a genius.
It was funny, it was terribly out of character, and definitely more Patrick Bateman, but maybe the whole movie should have leaned into more funny back and forth, and not girl boss empowerment shit. That's it though. This was 2 hours of torture. Actually, make that 4 because I watched it twice. Time set by however long it's going to take to actually record, edit, and finish this video. God help me. Oh, also, just a last minute thing. If you want to subscribe because of this video, just be aware that I generally don't do movie reviews. I may never do another movie review ever, so just be aware of that. I generally just cover gay internet drama, so yeah.